got there. And Roman, are you unmuted? Do you want to tell us where you're coming in from? Are you in Leningrad or?
Yes, Leningrad, St. Petersburg.
Yes, right, St. Petersburg, where you are at school. So with that, welcome filmmakers. I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to put you into Maura's able hands. For those who just joined, Maura is the head of our film department. So she's going to talk to you about your work, your films, your education, any tips you have for our students. Any of that is fair game and more, and I might pop in here and there. Have a great panel, and this is Maura Shea.
Hello, all.
Hello.
I had the joy of watching your films before this. So I guess I'd like to start with a sort of open question about inspiration. I think one of the hardest things is coming up with the ideas for short films, because sometimes our ideas are too big, or, and how to sort of scale them down into something that's doable within an academic setting. And I guess it would be best if you want to just answer, you raise your hand, or use the raise the hand function, or physically raise your hand, whichever works best for you. But anyone want to talk about sort of what inspired their piece?
Just we have Alexei and with Smith. Алексей, привет.
You're muted, Alexei.
Алексей.
I'm sorry, yes. Вопрос был о том, что тебя вдохновило на этот фильм. Какие события или что-то, вот, что привело к этой идее?
Да, Алексей, привет. Так, вижу, у нас неожиданная встреча. Да, я бы хотел еще в начале моста уже, я просто говорю, я примерно понимаю 50 на 50, но я очень плохо говорю это отдельными словами.
That's okay.
И перед тем, как я скажу, еще раз я бы хотел бы, может, тоже перевести, что я очень извиняюсь, что вот так вот мы общаемся. Я понимаю, что это не очень удобно.
Roman apologizes that he is talking through an interpreter, through a translator, and needs this help, but that's, I believe, it's fine.
Да, еще прошу прощения, Миша, я не успел доехать до дома, я вот в пути, не знаю, может быть, это не очень удобно.
He's on his way home, so he was not able to get back home before the panel started, so he apologizes for this.
Знаешь, тут такая, я постараюсь кратко, но тут кратко тяжело начать, может быть, потому что тут есть две вещи. Есть как бы форма, явная в фильме, а есть содержание. Вот я не знаю, с чего начать.
Okay. So speaking of his film, he says there are two different things, the form and the content, and they're different. He doesn't know what to start with, what to begin with.
Well, with Roman, his film in particular, when in the process did he decide to shoot it from the point of view of the cat?
Когда ты решил снять это с точки зрения Кэпа, да? Это, я так понимаю, кружка, да, или что?
Нет, это коп полицейский.
Копа.
Я вот сейчас не знаю, просто, наверное, не все видели, и ты, я так понимаю, тоже не видел, спойлерить или нет. И там все с одной очень конкретной точки зрения вся история рассказывается.
Да. Как тебе пришла в голову идея снимать с этой точки зрения?
Да. Я сейчас попробовать, чтобы это было не банально и без пафоса.
I'm just trying to avoid spoiling the movie for those who didn't see this, like me, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
And not to tell what POV is used to and how that's used in the movie.
Просто есть такой момент, мне всегда было отчасти интересно, как вот этот персонаж, это живой персонаж, я сейчас не буду открывать все карты, назову его живой персонаж. И этот живой персонаж видит все с определенной точки зрения, не так, как мы.
So in the center of narration, there is a live person, a live character whose POV is the most important, is the center of the narration.
И этот персонаж живет такой же полноценной жизнью, он живой, он также испытывает определенные эмоции, но мы при всем при том, что мы рядом, но так как мы по-разному видим эти точки зрения, так как мы по-разному видим одно и то же, и, собственно, мне и пришла в голову попробовать эту точку зрения.
So the character lives the full life and they experience the same emotions as everyone, but because of the POV, because how we see the same things differently, Roman realizes this is a great moment to actually put it on screen and use this as a metaphor, as a way to show the events of the film.
What about your inspiration, Alexei?
Oh, I think it was a magical moment in my life, actually, when I fell in love with someone, why I got rejected. And it was so close to Christmas time, to holidays, that, as a POV, as Roman says, I started looking around. I saw only couples at that time. When I go to groceries, I see couples. On the street, I only see couples, like there's no lonely people in the world, you know what I mean? And I was like, man, it would be perfect to see this on St. Valentine's Day, that would be like terrific. And I was just this is exactly what I put on the page when I was writing the script. And, and originally the movie was set actually in a grocery store. So the guys would compete for goods, they would race with their shopping carts and stuff like that. But we could not find this location, we could not get the location for that. Like none of the grocery stores allow us to, have a full day of shooting in their space. So I had to sit down and change it to something. And the first idea, because I guess I'm Russian. So the first idea I got was, why don't I transfer everything into a bar and have it a drinking game instead, a drinking competition. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I think it's about, for me, it was just a moment, of personal expression. And I had an exercise to do for the class because, it's still a college movie. It's a student film. And the exercise we had was tell a story using less than 3 lines of dialogue. So basically, they push you to tell the story visually. And I was like, why don't take it seriously and make the whole movie without dialogue at all? Like, I just avoid words, maybe one of the, on the card, but the card would be not the full frame, but some kind of note or something. And this is how I came to this.
Nice. Another thing sort of amongst all these films is casting. And I mean that even for Bittersweet, which is a documentary. How did you find your couple?
So I had actually kind of through my partner, it was their grandparents.
Okay.
I originally this wasn't the film I was going to make. Also having certain parameters in the school setting for a documentary, because I'm in a documentary program. I was originally going to do something at a cafeteria and look at cafeteria life, like behind, like, because I used to be a dishwasher, like full time, and kind of like unpack that, I guess, before I got into grad school. And I wound up falling through, and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I had my parameters, it had to be within a time frame and a couple other things. And my partner was just happening to tell me that, that my grandparents are moving soon. And I was like, oh, why are they moving? And they're like, they're basically being bought out of their land, And I was like, what? Like, that's so, and it was a good way to kind of get to know them too. Trying to be respectful about talking about it before even beginning the process of like, can I do this? Can I can I make this film, and kind of let you all kind of like talk about your experience of as this process is happening. So yeah, that's kind of how it came about. It was very kind of happenstance, and I guess was really lucky, I guess, to be able to have them tell their story before all of that has transpired.
Jackson, the father-son relationship obviously is really important in your film. How did you cast it? Because they seem to have that perfect, awkward closeness, but not yeah.
So it's kind of like a really amazing process because the father is actually a really famous actor in Taiwan.
Oh.
And I want to have a chance to reach out to him because the price will be really high. But for some reason, he saw our casting call and he liked the concept. And he's also a Christian. So he kind of wanted to support me in that way. So back in Taiwan, because I didn't grow up there, so I have no relationship, I have no connection. So I need to do the hard way to post stuff on Facebook and search for people. And this guy just contact our producer and says that he can help us. So that's for the father. And for the son, I did go through auditions and stuff. I think why the relationship feel genuine is because that's the relationship of me and my father. So I can't really tell them like what I'm feeling. And yeah, that's like a true reflection.
Awesome. Kiki, you're in an animation. Were you in an animation program when you made that? And how did you decide on the style? I mean, I love the way the backgrounds and the character art work together, and then the change of style when we get to the nothing world.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of influence from a very academic or like academia aesthetic. And for the nothing world, it's basically just a piece of blank, like white and black. And I've tested a lot of like video effect and After Effects just to get the characters right. But for the main characters, their aesthetic basically just comes from my dream. So this story comes from a dream that I had, and I decided to turn it into this film. And the kid and the mom, because I don't want to spoil people, the kid and the mom, their character design, the kid is basically designed from a star. So you can see like his hair looks like a piece of the star if you cut the star sign. So initially my design for them is the kid is like a stardust, or he is like they are like a piece of being in this world. It represents life. So I made him like a star. And the mom, initially my intention was like Gaia, like the goddess, and she has to be like very, how do you say, accommodating, and she is the mistress of this house. And yeah, and the nothing, his design is basically just a blob. And it's just my version of telling, oh, what does everything looks like? Everything looks like a blob, like in my version. Sorry, I don't know if I answered.
No, that's good. No, it's good. It's a beautiful film. Auntie, if you could talk about your inspiration, and the visuals are just so striking, and to have primarily a single actor kind of telling their story. Sort of how did that all come to be?
Hi. So the inspiration probably came from my mother. When I was like watching her in the house, she had this unique relationship with her house that she's like building micro worlds or like mini installations in the house when she's bored cleaning. And as a kid, it was very fun for me to watch it and explore them. So I was kind of fascinated from how she was in the house all the time, but she made it hers somehow. And so the next question was about the thesis.
About the what? I'm sorry, I
The
forgot what my own
thesis.
question is. The visuals, what was your relationship with your cinematographer like, or did you shoot it yourself? I forget.
No. I didn't shoot it myself, but he was one of my friends.
Mhm.
And we have talked about cinema a lot. And also I think it was mostly things I did when I was in the art school. It was more like I was doing installations, and I think I took some ideas that I wanted them to be in film.
Interesting. And Jake, I actually met Jake when he was a high school student. So you've been doing film for a long time. Probably many of you been doing film for a long time. But I'm curious sort of how it's different making films within the academic setting versus things you do on your own, and now how you take that and go out into the real world, I guess, and produce.
Sure. Yeah, and I did meet Maura on my tour of Penn State, very first day ever in the town, and like to that moment, all my experience, even though I had been making these films, it was really just in high school with my friends, and I kind of had like 9 different roles, and kind of my arc throughout college as far as production goes was really like just learning to let go of like doing 11 things on a production, because you're not on your middle school YouTube channel anymore. You're trying to be a filmmaker in the actual entertainment industry. And so, had some definite swings and misses in college. And then by senior year, wanted to make sure that we ended on a high note. And so that take a little time really was my biggest exercise in just doing my roles. And I say that, but I directed and wrote and, DP'd it, because of course, but no, truly, like I had a crew of about 15 people. Most of them were in your class, Maura, and everyone did their roles. We were shooting another film at the same time, pretty much with a lot of overlap on the crew. And so just really, making sure everyone stayed in their own lane, but also where those lanes merge and where everyone, intersects at the, with our artistry and service of story being the focus. I think it was a great exercise in that collaboration. And now, since graduation, I've been able to AC on Jake Lazaro's film Overlook, which you probably heard about, Maura and Pearl. And I just did their sound design and mixing in post, as they just submitted to a bunch of stuff in the past week. So all that's to say, I think in the academic side of things, I mean, if your program is providing equipment, if it's providing, obviously experienced professors who can, lend their insight, it's really helpful in kind of those training wheels. And then when you gotta, rip them off and just go on your own, you have that kind of experience to lean back on and feel comfort in. And I definitely do, as kind of starting to do this for real now, if that answers the question.
It does. Pearl, do you want to chime in at all? Are there things?
Sure. I mean, one of the reasons that I get excited when I look at these blocks of films is because, as Maura said, they all are so different and so strong in their own areas, as you probably are hearing now. Some of these filmmakers haven't watched each other's films yet. The night is young. You have all week to watch these films, so don't feel bad if you haven't. They haven't yet either. But when you do, I think you're going to see why this is so exciting. There's something very powerful about the moving image. And I would love to hear all of you, because in the end, we're all kind of walking individuals, or some of us can walk with a heart, with the desire for love. Alexei kicked us off with that. And with the desire to see things from different perspectives, whether we're able to or not. And there's a universal theme to me when we all lift a piece of equipment and we're humans behind it, and we're all trying to connect with each other through our films. So that's my preface to asking, you haven't watched all of them, so there isn't something you can say is in common, but did you reach the goal you were going for as a person that's behind a camera? And maybe couple that with, was there something you wish you could have told yourself or have learned that would have gotten you there? Or do you feel like, no, it wasn't supposed to be that way? So sorry to ask a complicated question, Alexei. Are you able to type this to Roman? Oh, terrific. So that's a fun one to translate. I wish you luck, Alexei. So do what you will with these questions. Jake and Jackson already know me, so they understand this multi-layered questioning. I'm going to let them start, and I'll give you all some time to think about it. So again, you're a person behind a camera trying to move people with each other or alone, in your case, Auntie, in front of a screen, or animated, in your case, Kiki. And, there's one heart, there's desire, there's passion. We all have that in common. Did you get what you wanted out of it? And if you did or didn't, what would you have told the beginner self as you were, because you're students, after all, we always are. We're all students at all stages of our work. So we'll start with Jackson and see where it goes from there.
Also, I'll follow up with Jake, because he said that try to let go of your role and then trust your crew members. I think that's one thing that I learned throughout the process, because I feel like when I was in Penn State, I didn't really get into that much of production. I mean, for my own work, because I'm always helping other people, and I didn't really know how to be a director, because I feel like I'm doing my stuff and people trust me, but I didn't really think why they trust me. So after trying to really do your own stuff and then be the director, you know that you can't do everything. You know that you're limitless, you have limits, and then you can only focus on one thing, which is directing on set. So after this process, I really thank my crew members, being so helpful and so supportive. And I try to let go of my own ego, my arrogance, my everything. So that's one thing. And I feel like, what's the other question? So also, because this film, I only have 1 month to prepare. Although I have my entire school year to write the script and everything, but I have no idea what the shooting environment is like in Taiwan. So I actually got back during the pandemic, and I was quarantining for 2 weeks. And at that time frame, I started to reach out to people and then connect to people. Pearl or Maura, they might know that I'm really introverted. I don't like to talk that much, but I actually, after graduating, I actually enjoy connecting, and I actually enjoy knowing other people and learning from them, their skills, their knowledge, and their worldview of how they shoot stuff, how they create stories. So that's another thing is definitely as a filmmaker to connect with people. That's what I learned. Yeah, and also appreciate everyone that's helping you.
What about you, Jake?
Definitely. I think I had like, kind of two parallel goals, and one was more like inward as far as the production goes. And that was just, I wanted the set to be like a great experience. I had, like some hit or miss experiences on different sets as far as like, the chemistry and everyone feeling like they're making a, meaningful contribution. And like, and so I just wanted everyone, who was going to give any of their time and none of their get no money to my production to love it on set and to feel like they can watch the film and like identify 15 things that they should be personally proud of. I wanted to validate, everybody who helped. And so I think like as far as what I might go back and tell myself, I think I was like very, very focused on having great vibes on set. I guess context would be that we shot everything in 5 straight days because we were terrified of like the school closing because COVID, because we were shooting this in fall of 2020. And so we had everything checked out. We had everyone test negative and it was, Friday. We scheduled this all out. We had all the locations and everything, but basically we had it all like, planned down to like the minute. And if one thing went wrong, we weren't going to have all the scenes. You weren't going to understand the film. So I wanted spirits to be high. And so that was a priority. And I think that, probably went a long way towards making sure that we were able to get everything. We were able to wrap, at some points we were fighting the sun going down. At other points we were fighting, the crew in the kitchen that we were shooting in needed to start prepping like food at 9 a.m. and we got there at 5:45 in the morning and we needed to get all those shots and get out by 9. So everyone loved, like, it was a great experience on set. And so I'm proud of that. And I think that helped the film happen. I just think, for whatever I do next, I'm going to really focus on like what that's going to turn out like, like at the end, like I had a very strong sense of what these shots were going to turn into in the edit. But I think like thematically and in terms of like the message and like, are people going to like fall into this world? I think I could focus more on that. And also I'm never going to DP and direct at the same time again. That was horrible. I don't know why I did that. I think COVID, honestly, but anyway, yeah, so I learned a lot and I had a lot of fun and it was a very affirming experience on set.
Awesome.
I just think I want to make sure everything.
Yeah. That's great. What about you, Roman? Back to that question Alexei texted you.
You're
You're
muted.
muted.
You're muted.
У тебя
I'm
микрофон
enjoying
выключен.
being on the subway and the metro with him, of course, but
Yeah.
still muted.
There you go.
Да. Что мы
Yeah.
тебя слышим?
Сейчас, да. Леш, надо сказать, что, то, что ты написал, да, какие сложности.
Да.
Да?
Да, этот вопрос. Какие сложности, что бы ты себе сказал в начале с точки зрения того, что было в конце, что получилось?
Лично я понимаю, что то же самое, что говорят практически все, то есть тяжело организовать, найти деньги, не хватает времени и собрать команду. Самое главное, я правильно понял, да, что все говорят примерно
Да.
вот это.
Да. Yeah. Roman says basically he struggles mostly with the same as everyone. So to find money, to find crew, to inspire everyone, and that's very similar.
У меня очень довольно-таки простая история в производственном смысле, в техническом. Там нет сложных постановочных кадров, объектов. И вот кто видел, поймет, что все довольно-таки технически просто, но все равно за кадром очень много людей и очень много организационной работы.
So his story is quite simple in terms of production because when you see the movie, you realize it's not really hard to make, but there's a lot of people behind the camera still who are making it, who are taking care of technical things and who are making this.
And you have to have had the idea to do it that way.
Леш, перейди, пожалуйста.
Да, и тебе нужна была идея, которая тебя заставила так сделать, да? Нужна была мысль.
Идея, идея, мне кажется, знаешь, как говорят, режиссер снимает одно и то же кино всю жизнь, есть такая, поговорка, шутка, но это, мне кажется, правда.
Roman says, there is a saying that says that the director is always shooting one movie all the time, all his life, all their life.
И идея у меня есть, я просто сам понял со временем, что она переходит из одного фильма в другой. Я не знаю, надо про это сейчас говорить или нет. И, конечно, мне кажется, что нас всех объединяет, мы очень хотим снимать кино и очень любим кино снимать.
Roman says that he has an idea, and that idea does a journey from film to film as he makes the movies.
Great, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to?
Да, и я хотел еще, Леш, добавить, что, наверное, можно сказать, что мне очень повезло, мы очень долго не могли найти главного героя, и это очень известный в России актер Кирилл Полухин.
He had luck to find an actor. He could not find an actor for a long time, and that was lucky, really, that he got really famous actor in Russia, Roman Polukhin.
Кирилл Полухин.
Kirill Polukhin, who is playing the main character, I guess.
И я очень стеснялся и боялся к нему обращаться, хотя нельзя.
He was so afraid to ask him.
И я был очень приятно удивлен, когда ему понравилась история, и он очень обрадовался и согласился, потому что он очень много снимается, но в другом кино.
He was quite surprised when Kirill agreed, actually. He loved the story, he loved the concept, and he agreed to be the character in the movie. It was quite a lot for Roman.
И, разумеется, он снимался бесплатно, и он сказал, конечно, там никаких денег, ни в коем случае. И вот это, я считаю, очень такая большая удача, и для меня это было таким событием.
Okay, so Kirill actually is in many movies in Russia. He's really famous, and he obviously makes some money doing that. But for Roman's film, he did it completely for free. So that was really inspiring Roman, and Roman, was quite, uplifted with this decision of Kirill. He was really, felt like doing this film.
Thank you so much, Roman. And we're so glad you made this film and that he agreed to be in it. And Alexei, what about you? And we should all know that we have to wrap in about 6 minutes. I still want you to talk about the inspiration, if you've reached your goal or what you've gotten out of it. And then we'll see if we have time for one last question. Go ahead, Alexei.
Sure. So for my film, I was making this one, shooting first time with this DP, first time working with this producer that I got basically assigned in a class. It was kind of a journey, and I was, we had a lot of struggles with the location, as I said, with the casting. I could not find a bartender matching the vision. I could not decide, like, is it supposed to be a funny bartender? Is it supposed to be someone serious? Like, what kind of character is that? We had different struggles, technical, organizational, everything. And when I was, when I look back, I would just tell myself two things. First, don't be locked in one vision. Never get, this feeling of, okay, it needs to be this particular way, and, like a stubborn, you just go there. And the second thing is, you will make it. Like, there was a point when I was like, oh, no, I'm not making this film. I'm not making to my shooting dates. I'm not ready. I cannot really. And this is literally what happens now to my thesis film. Like, I get closer to the shoot, I am realizing, oh my gosh, nothing is ready, nothing. I don't have proper cast, I don't have proper locations, nothing is good. Like, oh my gosh, what I'm doing. But then, things just come together, magic. I don't know. It's kind of a magic how it works. It just comes together closer to the day of shoot. It just gets there, and you'll make it, Alexei.
That's great. What about you, Auntie?
So I probably say to myself that I must not say everything, like say less, and probably focus on the moments more, and on the micro movements and the focus on the actress more also. And also you're gonna do it. I agree with that. You're gonna achieve it. And maybe that you don't have like to be specific all the time, but somebody will understand with just a touch sometimes. I think this.
Great. And Kiki?
So my initial for my film, like my intention is to describe nothingness in a childlike way in a linear storyline. It has to be very narrative. So my difficulty throughout my whole film is I'm trying to describe my idea to my like composer, to my voice actor, and everybody has different ideas of what is in the bag and who the characters are. And initially all my voice actors think like, oh, the thing in the bag is a ghost and this is a ghost story. And I have to slightly like talk to them and slightly like direct them towards, no, this is not a ghost, this is more like a god. But also because you're a kid, so you have to talk to this god in a more like you're talking to your grandparents way. So yeah, it's very challenging to navigate between everybody's concept of nothingness. But the outcome, I'm very pleased with it. And I do feel like at the end, everybody get the idea, get the story.
Awesome. And last but not least, Dylan, what about you? The challenges, did you find it, that one passion?
Yeah, so really, I mean, for this film, it was about implementing kind of what I had learned so far, doing undergrad work, which was primarily narrative, and then moving into a documentary sphere. The main thing, and I think I was able to implement it, and definitely in future productions, the production I'm on right now that I'm working on for my second year film, was just kind of being patient and just kind of letting, letting people talk and kind of just not trying to guide them really. And I really do kind of subscribe more to that kind of field of thought of just kind of letting things happen and then being like, okay, actually that kind of works because it happened in that moment that way. And, so particularly, with my partner's grandparents, it's a sensitive issue and I did not want to try and put them in an uncomfortable situation. I just kind of wanted to just let them say what they needed to. And then they just gave me time. They were like, you know what, go ahead, go around the house, film, and, record what you need, go around the property. Let's take you out and drive you through and show you around. And I think for me, the biggest thing with that patience would have probably translated, what I didn't probably do was translated through the filming of it, that patience. And a lot of it, obviously it did occur around when COVID, we had just started to shut down. And so we were put on very, very, very small crews, and we all worked together in our cohort. So we're all kind of as well switching between other people that is our first time working with. And so being more patient probably with that and trying to navigate, okay, how do we translate this vision? Because ultimately I'll be the one editing this as well because of how things are being shoved online for that moment in time. And it was, I think that was something that another thing that that I've heard throughout this panel is, just asking people. And I think that's such a cool thing, just to be able to be brave and go and ask. And, even when people say no, like finding a way to translate that into something else, and finding a way to make it work still. And that's what I'm pulling away from this as well, and thinking about as something that I would implement and tell past self, like, hey, just be patient, ask, just figure out how it goes,
Yeah, I mean, I just love listening to all of you. I asked this kind of heady roundabout question, and the answers were all very tactile and real. Like, how do you translate your vision onto the screen? So I truly appreciated that. Maura has one last question. I don't want to leave us without this question, but if you can like answer it with extreme brevity. And the reason I think it's an important question is because we're watching your work now as students, and they already are these incredibly award-worthy and in some cases award-winning works. So Maura's going to ask you the last question about your journey, and then please do stay in touch with each other. We wish that we weren't only hybrid and we were always just in person, but there is a pandemic, and plus some of you are international. So just create a little filmmakers lounge over there in the chat. And Maura will ask you this last question and close out this particular live stream. So I want to thank you also on behalf of the Center Film Festival. Maura, the rest is all yours.
Well, before I get to my question, I just want to echo what Dylan said, because I always say filmmaking is a journey, and you have to remember to pack your patience, because there's always detours. I have this whole analogy thing I do, but I always tell my kids pack their patience. So what are you working on next? What can we look for? What are you hoping to pull together as we slightly come out of our pandemic, hopefully, and production moves on? Jake, what you working on?
I'm working on finding gainful employment. And I want it to be something that, I can build off of, take a little time in that whole experience. But I'm writing, stuff. I don't know when I'll get the next opportunity to do, but I want to have stuff in my pocket when the moment comes. And so I think the biggest thing is just to be writing at all times. And that's my brevity.
I'm going to go across my screen. Dylan?
Yeah, so I'm in a terminal degree, so I'll be here. I'm like, it's a 3-year deal for this master's program. And I mean, the project I'm working on right now in my 2nd-year film is about where I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, which is deep South Texas. And it's kind of this piece about an album that's a speculative piece about what the valley would look like in 200 years in the future. And so I kind of doing like a time capsule, of what the valley looks like now with what this music may sound like regionally in the future, in like 100 years from now. And so I'm interviewing those artists and trying to figure out a way how to make that come across without it being too confusing, because it is kind of a big kind of thing. It's supposed to be like a, it's just a lot. But yeah, it's mainly going to be like a time capsule with their music overlaid, and trying to be this kind of, I guess, kind of like a dreamscape kind of feel, to try and pull off what the valley looks like now, and to kind of show what maybe misconceptions about what border life may look like, and kind of try and show it through as someone who is from there, transparently.
Alexei?
Well, I'm working right now on my, as I mentioned a little bit, on my thesis film, which is, I'm trying to now get to the point when I can not only reflect my own life, not just put on screen, my personal experiences, but also try to start reflecting life of real lives, and the life of communities that I belong to, and kind of make things that are more resonative, if it makes sense, to more relatable for people, because I'm working on Brother, which is a story about gay marriage and immigrant experience, and how we, deal with our roots, which sometimes you have to cut off in a way to be yourself. So it's about comparing cultures, comparing views on sexuality, love, and things like that. It's quite a challenge for myself. So I'm trying to push myself into something new now, and to try, to find, this voice that would be really particular and recognizable for myself creatively as well. So this is what I'm doing. We'll see if I can submit it to Central Film Festival next year.
Good thinking. Jackson?
So right now I'm working on getting myself a working visa or a green card. I mean, for international students, this most important thing right now because I want to stay and be able to make more films. So I actually been taking coloring gigs, like coloring other short films for my friend and for anyone that's have the opportunity. So I'm still working on some of the film stuff, but I really want to, after this year, maybe I want to move on to what I'm most passionate with, like filmmaking. Yeah.
Kiki?
I'm at my last year in Cal Arts, so I'm doing my thesis film. My thesis film will be about LGBTQ. Yeah, I'm just trying to seize the last moment that I can express creatively, have a creative freedom.
Auntie?
I'm working on a new short film, again with a woman around 30. The theme is the feeling of being lost, and she's having a trouble during her sleep. Her back is leaking to the bed, so she's trying to fix it. And finally, she takes this water and she waters her plants. So I'm trying to work this out.
And last but not least, Roman.
У тебя выключен микрофон. Да, теперь
Да,
хорошо.
я сейчас включаю. Я сейчас скажу громкое слово, заканчиваю, постпродакшн, я не знаю, как так и называется, наверное. Я попробовал снять, я все-таки не документалист, я попробовал снять документальную историю. Давай, наверное, пока паузу сделаю.
So Roman is in the middle of finishing another film. He says tried, not made, but he tried to make a documentary.
У нас было просто документальное задание, и мне было самому интересно попробовать, потому что это все, конечно, совсем все по-другому и отличается от игрового кино невероятно.
So they had an assignment in class, which was documentary, and documentary is so different, completely different from narrative.
И это небольшая история, и я сам... Просто эта история, я снимал ее в деревне, и я не мог туда привести команду, технику, и в итоге я сам и был как оператор, и режиссер, и сценарист, и все делал сам, и это, конечно, очень интересный такой опыт. И вот сейчас я заканчиваю этот проект.
So this is a small story, and this small story happens in a village, so Roman could not really bring any crew there. He was shooting, directing, writing, producing, doing all on himself. And this is something that he's finishing right now.
И вот, да, я заканчиваю, и посмотрим, что вот из этой истории получится.
Let's see what happens with that.
И пробую писать сценарий новой игровой истории, но это пока такие планы дальнейшие, дальше опять собирать команду, искать деньги и так далее.
And he's writing a new narrative project as well. But this is like further in his planning process, in development. It's something far away from now. And he will still need to find money for this, find crew, find the vision and everything.
Well, thank you all for participating. And I encourage you all to watch the international, the high school, and the national student shorts. As well as the rest of the program. There's a lot of great stuff. And thank you all for coming and talking about your work.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.